Great to have you here
Welcome to the podcast.
with me and my guests from around the world. Welcome to the Simone Filer podcast.
Welcome to this podcast.
Let's get into it, shall we? On the Simone Filer podcast, Jacki Ferro is my guest today. She has run cross-cultural unifying projects that promote self-determination, community education and social justice. She's the instigator of the Linked-Up Multicultural Festival and the first Sorry Day March in Ipswich in Queensland. Qualified in public relations, social planning, writing, editing and publishing, and also the owner of Raw Memoirs. Welcome, Jacki Ferro.
Thanks, Simone.
Lovely to have you here today. Okay, so when you were at school, what did you have in mind to be when you grew up?
I always had this fascination for people of different cultures, and I always thought, I remember even when I was really little, I was fascinated by people from around the world. And so I always knew I wanted to work with refugees and migrants. And so that's what I ended up doing for the first many years of my career.
Okay. So you've run the cross-cultural unifying projects and were the instigator of the Linked-Up Multicultural Festival in Ipswich. How did this passion come to be?
So I started by volunteering when I finished my public relations degree at QUT in the early 90s. I worked with the Association of Non-English Speaking Background Women and started writing reports for them. And then I got a job with the Ethnic Communities Council of Queensland, running the statewide HIV/AIDS education prevention program for migrants and refugees across the state. And I worked there for 6 years. Then I was taken over to the South Pacific Commission and I ran the AIDS small grants program for the South Pacific. And after that, I decided I really loved community development. So I went back to uni and studied that. And that's when I got the job at Ipswich City Council. And I was lucky to be there in year 2000. And that's where I was community relations officer. So my job was really to bring all the migrants together, and it was really in response to One Nation and the ethos of Pauline Hanson there at Ipswich. And I was really excited to be like a counterforce, promoting unity and cultural understanding and acceptance. So had a lot of fun organising that first Link-Up Multicultural Festival as part of the Ipswich Festival in 2000. And that was the same year, if people remember, that people marched across the Sydney Harbour Bridge because our Prime Minister at the time refused to say sorry to the stolen generations. And so, together with the Aboriginal worker at Ipswich City Council, Arnie Pat King, we organised the first Sorry Day March through Ipswich. And it was such a great day. And to our great surprise and honour, Ernie Dingo turned up.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was just a great party, and we had a local Aboriginal band play in the park, and yeah, we walked through all the streets of Ipswich, and yeah, I'd say that was one of the highlights of the work I did.
Excellent. And did that keep going, or was it just in that particular year?
The Sorry Day March, I believe, was only in 2000. The Link-Up Multicultural Festival as part of the Ipswich Festival continued for quite a few years, and I understand it only stopped being called that only last year, I believe. So I was pretty happy that that legacy lived on, where we involved all the schools and they all learnt multicultural dances, and we had multicultural cooking and fashion, and we had a fashion parade, and we had performances from all the different groups in Ipswich. It's a very multicultural area, including the Aboriginal community there at Ipswich.
Right.
So it was a great time.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the situation of the Black Lives Matter marches and protests happening across the world now after George Floyd?
It's really tragic that this police violence goes on and that these attitudes are still festering. And it's heartening to know that people are coming together, and hopefully this is a time of change and that people will start respecting one another. It seems to be exacerbated in professions where people have a lot of authority over less powerful people. And I think there needs to be a lot of awareness, particularly among people who work in those areas like police enforcement and justice, youth detention. And I know from working very closely with an Aboriginal lady who I've co-written her memoir, just how vicious racial discrimination can be on a day-to-day basis, and how frightening and terrifying. And it's just wrong. And it's disheartening to see that so many people around the world are finally saying enough is enough. And we all are people, and we all should be equally respected and treated with fairness and treated equally, and not just justice for those with a different coloured skin.
What do you think could be done? Have you got any ideas of how we could, bring about equality and stamp out injustice and racism?
I think a lot of it comes through empowering, I guess, particularly Indigenous people and migrants and refugees. But Indigenous people need a leg up to get into training and education, further education, so that they have the skills to then empower their communities through the legal system, through the healthcare system, through social services. And this is beginning to happen. So this is a very exciting time that since I started in the 90s, there's definitely been a lot more Aboriginal people go into tertiary qualification and become leaders and carers and advisors of their own community. And you can see this swell in power among the particularly the Aboriginal people of Australia. So it's heartening to see, and I think that's a major change, because they need a voice, and they are providing their own voice, and they know better than anyone the history through their parents and grandparents of what the unjust policies that Australia has had, and their effects today on Aboriginal people today. So I think that's part of it. And of course the other part is that particularly in schools we teach wider Australia recent Aboriginal history, and so that there's greater awareness that it's not a level playing field, and why there's certainly breakdown in Aboriginal families. They're overrepresented in foster care, for example, and why that is, and that there's more compassion and there's more assistance to raise that to an equal playing field with wider Australia. So both of those things, empowering the community but also educating the wider community, and the wider community showing more compassion.
Do you think it's made a difference to you understanding that by working with the likes of Auntie Rhonda and other Indigenous people that you've worked with, to understand their frustrations?
Oh, definitely. I met Auntie Rhonda Collard-Spratt through an Aboriginal arts program I was running at a community centre at Ipswich in 2012. And since then, together we wrote her life story. And not only in learning about her life as a stolen child who grew up in a mission, did I learn a lot more about her personal experience and that of tens of thousands of other Aboriginal people. But when she would come to see me one day a week, she would tell me the weekly racial discrimination she'd experienced that week, and how this was going on continuously, being refused entry to a club just because of the colour of her skin, being watched when she went into a shop because she might shoplift something, being refused to pay her electricity bill at the post office, which she'd done thousands of times before, so she knew that that was possible, but being told that she wasn't allowed to. And then hearing of her relatives who couldn't get work just because people would see them and not give them a job. So I certainly learnt a lot more, not only about our recent history, but also what's still happening today regarding racial discrimination in this country.
It's really sad to think that we're, living in the year 2020 and we still don't understand that, people are all equal. We're all here doing our own thing, no matter what colour or creed we are, and we should be more forgiving towards everybody, right? Because we each have our own struggles, don't you think? Doesn't matter what race or religion you are. And to condemn someone for the colour of their skin or even their religion is just really appalling, because by 2020, we should know better.
Yeah, and what's even more shocking is when people in power, like healthcare workers, discriminate. And you see that in the Miss Dew case in WA, the Aboriginal girl who died in custody from septicemia, was taken to hospital and they didn't even take her temperature. So it's all we ask is that people do their job. Just do your job without judgment. And maybe that's really hard. I don't know why, but it seems really hard for people to just do their job equally across anyone in the community.
Maybe the government really needs to come down tighter on people, that if they are discriminatory towards different races, then they will lose their job.
It's difficult when you look at who's in power sometimes.
Okay, well, that was nice and deep to begin with. Thank you, Jacki. Okay, more about you. So you've basically had a split career. So that was your earlier life. And then when was it that you decided, I'm going to now start my own business and go down, the route of editing and Raw Memoirs, basically, your business?
So, yes, it was when I met Auntie Rhonda Collard-Spratt at that community centre at Ipswich in 2012, and I started co-writing her memoir the following year, and I was still doing community work. I was still writing grants and other writing for community services, and I was just enjoying it so much that I decided I'd go back to uni a third time and study writing, editing and publishing and really learn how to do this properly. So I was just co-writing this memoir, and then I found another friend of a friend came to me and I co-wrote her memoir, and that helped me to transition out of community work into co-writing memoirs, particularly editing and appraising books across all genres. But my love is memoir, and I guess I really love it because I see the person transform. And I see them go from, usually they've had traumatic childhoods, and I see them go from really quite shy people or depressed people, and I watch them blossom really, because someone's validating their experience, someone's listening, it's being documented, and it will be read by others, and so it's being shared, and it validates their experience, that it was meaningful and it was worthwhile and they are worthwhile. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years now.
Excellent. Congratulations. That's great. So do you think it's important that authors, writers who want to become published authors, why is it important that they engage a proper editor to go through their work?
A lot of the time people, I guess particularly in the area of memoir, have this incredible life story, but they're not trained as a writer. So an editor can help you distill your messages, find the themes of your life story, create a narrative arc, create an engaging book that readers want to read. So an editor will improve the marketability of what your story is and make it readable, not only getting the punctuation, grammar and spelling correct, but ordering the scenes so that it's engaging and it's rising in tension and drama, and bringing your characters to life through dynamic dialogue, and really also heightening the emotion in the scenes, making the funny scenes really funny and the sad and tragic scenes really tragic, because art should move people. So an editor should be able to not only produce a professional text, but an artful text. And memoir, I think especially, its role should be to move people emotionally so that they learn something, and it should teach people something. But I called my business Raw Memoirs because I feel it's really important to keep that person's raw voice. And every person speaks differently and is unique. And I really want the reader to imagine the person telling the story. So I try to, even if it's grammatically incorrect, keep those sort of nuances that are unique to a person in the story. And that actually helps engage a certain audience. So for example, with Rhonda's book, Alice's Daughter, it's certainly written in Auntie Rhonda's voice. And Aboriginal readers really appreciate that because that's how their mother talks or their grandmother talks or they talk. And so it increases the credibility and the authenticity.
Have you ever found that the authors that you've worked with after you've edited their work come back and say, I'm not happy with that? Or is it a struggle? Can it be a struggle with authors that they really want to, that what they've written should stay that way?
Oh, I don't find that. I think that they appreciate if you've had the education to know what is more professional. And I haven't had the experience of an author saying that they wanted to change it back to how they'd written it, or I haven't actually.
You must be doing a good job then.
I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know if other editors have that problem. I guess you have to be delicate with their emotions. You always have to find a positive in what anyone has written. There always is a positive. You can't just criticize. I think sometimes editors can be harsh, especially when you do an appraisal of a manuscript. I do appraisals, copy editing, structural editing as well, and co-writing. When I write appraisals, I always find the positives first because it's worthwhile. People have poured their heart into this. They've sometimes spent years writing this, and it is worthwhile. There is something worthwhile. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. And so I hopefully don't upset people. I haven't heard of anyone being upset, and I've done over 40 books now. So
that's a good track record.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know, but they haven't told me if they're upset and they've gone away and ripped it up.
Well, most of them you would have seen come to fruition and actually be published, so I'd imagine they would have been pretty happy. Yes. So what is it exactly that you love about editing?
I love being alone at home. I have such a nice house, and I'm lucky, and I'm in among the trees, the big old jacarandas at home, and I love the solace, and I love engaging one-on-one with people, I guess. I prefer that to groups anyway. I really enjoy the process, especially with memoir. I really enjoy meeting these people on an ongoing basis and watching them transform as their book comes together. Yeah, it's the least stressful job I've ever done. After spending 20 years in community centres, which are basically crisis management, a lot of drop-in centres, it's really just such a breeze to be at home, and yet I still feel I hope I'm helping people in some way.
Yeah, for sure. Of course you are. I mean, you're making their memoirs come to life really in book form. So you opened your business 5 years ago, Raw Memoirs. How did this come together?
Yeah, it was really through Alice's Daughter, Lost Mission Child, which then got picked up by Aboriginal Studies Press. So we were really lucky in that it was traditionally published. And that gave me a lot of credibility as a co-writer, as an author, and I could say I was a published author then. And that I felt, after getting the tertiary qualification as well, I felt I could make a go of it, and I have a partner who can keep me financially, so I know it's difficult to run your own business, and you certainly don't rake in a lot, but it's more about doing what you love, and I'm lucky to do that. And last year my father passed away, so as a result of that I have developed a new product called Express Memoirs, where I interview older Australians about their lives, and I ask them up to 101 questions, and they cover subjects like their childhood and family, school years, working life, love, life as a parent and grandparent, and their advice and dreams. And I turn these into these beautiful coffee table books so that they have a set of books that they can pass down to their children and grandchildren to treasure for generations, so that their stories aren't lost. And of all the work I'm doing now, they're probably the thing I enjoy most, where I get to interview these wonderful people who escaped the Gestapo, people who were Navy commandos, farming people from Western Queensland. Yeah, people from the latest lady, she sounds just like Mrs. Doubtfire. I have to but they're just so gorgeous. They're so gorgeous. So, yeah, I've got 2 80-year-olds and a 90-year-old who I'm interviewing at the moment for their express memoir. And they really get such a kick out of it. And I see that transformation in them after I visit them, for the 3rd time. Everything's all clean and they're much happier than the first time when I dropped in. And yeah, just really proud that they have this. I guess in a way, sometimes it's a legacy for their families, because they know they're coming to the end of their life. And it's just a record so that their stories and their way of telling stories and their jokes, that they're not lost. And even the record of who their parents were and their grandparents, just so that if anyone in their family want to look up their family history, there's a little bit of a guide there. And so that's really helped develop my business.
That is such a beautiful idea. Like 3 generations down. I would love to have a book in my hands about my great-great-grandfather to find out exactly how he was. So that must give you some really deep personal satisfaction, and in a way a little bit sad, because obviously with your dad passing, and I'm sorry to hear that, did you get a chance to have a chat with him to put anything down?
No, I didn't. I did record some stories that he told, but I didn't write it down. So the first express memoir I produced was my mother's,
Nice.
Not long after Dad passed away. So yeah, it's just a beautiful process, and it's just slowly ticking over, and I just, little ripples on a pond, and I've reached the next person, and that's really beautiful. I can do these interviews in person in Brisbane or by video call anywhere in the world, really. But so far, anywhere in Australia. So I'm actually currently interviewing a 90-year-old who's in lockdown in a nursing home in Victoria.
Wow, very interesting. What an awful time to be in,
Yeah.
It's just, how has COVID treated you?
Oh, it hasn't changed my work at all, luckily. I feel very lucky. I already work from home, and it's really just my immediate family around me that's probably been more affected. But business as usual as far as I'm concerned. It's just obviously a lot more interviews by Skype rather than in person, especially the people I work with who are particularly vulnerable.
Well, I guess you've been very lucky. I mean, there's a lot of people now with the second wave of COVID, particularly in Victoria, and the elderly that are in, aged care home that can't get out. So you've got a way to bring, some happiness in their life for them to have a chat about themselves and write it down for generations to see.
Yes, that's exactly what this lady was saying to me, who's in lockdown in Victoria, that all the others in the care home had nothing to do, but she had her memoir to read through and make notes on and look through her old photos and select out, what she wants in the book. And that was really, she said, I'm just so busy. And she was really happy because usually she goes for a walk every afternoon and she's not allowed to at the moment. So yes, it's great to know that it's providing some, outlet and comfort to some people. And I'll be happy to do more.
Yeah, well, hopefully the more people hear this, more people will get in contact with you, and then they can too leave their legacy for their generations to come. So you started your business about 5 years ago, Raw Memoirs, and obviously Express Memoirs is under that banner. in Raw Memoirs, you do editing. Do you publish, or how does that work?
No, I don't publish. I get the texts ready to publish. Sometimes authors want to try and get a traditional publisher, so I can advise them on the steps to take. But most of the time they want to self-publish. They want to pay to just print their books and distribute and sell those and market them themselves. And so I do collaborate with a particular self-publisher, so I'll refer them on, or help them with whatever they want to do after that. They might want to create an audiobook out of their text, so then I would refer them to Brisbane Audiobook Production.
Thank you, Jacki. That's lovely. Now, you also do the co-writing with Raw Memoirs, so how do you find co-writing?
I love co-writing. It's possibly my favourite thing. One book I co-wrote with an author who didn't write a thing, and we had weekly Skype sessions, and I would just interview her, and that's how we wrote this whole book in 4 months. Motherhood in the Raw, that one. And Megan DeGee is in Melbourne. I just love getting to know the person, and I guess I enjoy taking on their character and trying to write in the way they speak, and I just enjoy that whole process and creating a narrative arc from it, and hopefully something people of the target group would want to read.
Well, that's really inspiring for writers that want to become authors, that they would have somebody, with your credentials and your passion to help create a book and bring it to life. Why do you think it's beneficial for people that want to do a co-author with you? What's the benefit for the author?
I guess particularly with memoir, a lot of people have written a lot of notes and then put them away in a drawer, and it can become very overwhelming. And there's a lot of half-finished memoirs out there, and I really like to get things done, and they know that if they work with me, you're going to get a book. As quickly as we can create one, we're going to get a book, and it will be done. So I guess that's the major thing, that if you've sort of been writing your memoir for years and years, and you just can't see the end of it and you're overwhelmed, well, I can help you get there, and in a timely way, to meet your budget, and also just to create something that is worthy of people wanting to read. But your audience might only be your family, but at least it will be something people are happy to read, and it engages people, and I can sort of advise them on what they should perhaps leave out and what perhaps we need more of as well. So in terms of developing character, and then plot and pace, and all those other elements that go into a story, because narrative is sort of a combination of dialogue and characters and plot and events as well. So it's definitely a creative process, and so I can sort of advise them on how to bring that to an artful standard, a professional and an artful standard.
Do you have co-written, obviously? Have you written anything yourself? Are you a writer as such?
So I really enjoy co-writing, I guess. I've only written like community education manuals and stuff beforehand in my previous life. However, currently I'm back with Auntie Rhonda Collard-Spratt, the Yamaji Noongar poet and storyteller, whose life story, Alice's Daughter, we co-wrote. And we are finally collaborating again, and I'm very excited because we're writing Dreamtime Aboriginal stories for children.
That sounds very cool.
It's very exciting. So the first story is about how the kangaroo got her pouch. And yes, I'm very excited about this. And Auntie Rhonda is an artist as well, so she will be doing the illustrations as well.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And so will you have a view to get these books in schools?
Yes, that's our target market. We're looking at 4 to 8 year olds. There'll be picture books.
Fantastic.
And we'll be hopefully getting a traditional publisher. We certainly have one in mind. Otherwise, yes, we'll have to do the hard slog ourselves and see if we can get it distributed through schools and school libraries and any other avenues we have for that age group.
Well, that kind of ties in with what we were speaking to begin with. That's getting the message out about our Indigenous owners of the country.
Definitely. So
Yeah.
the themes will be connection to country and what that means for Aboriginal people. And certainly one of the other themes in one of the books will be reconciliation, which is very dear to my heart.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm really looking forward to writing that one.
Oh, how exciting. Well, I look forward to seeing how that progresses and get them out soon, can you? Apart from editing and co-writing, what's your favourite genre to read?
Memoir. I basically only read memoir.
Is that right?
But I
Gotta
try.
be real.
I try to read really cool people. So like on my really cool list, definitely John Safran.
Right. He did the God book, didn't he?
Yeah, and he did Murder in Mississippi.
Oh,
And Russell Brand. So yeah.
oh, both very spiritual guys.
They're spiritual, like they're gurus, but they're also quite naughty and they push the envelope. They're mavericks. That's the word. They're both mavericks.
Yeah.
And
I love Russell.
I love
He's
Russell.
hilarious.
Too.
Stand up.
Absolutely. Like he's horrible to women. Like let's put that out there. But he has some great philosophies, and I do follow him on Instagram. And before that, I was a keen reader of Clive James and anything by Clive James. Yeah, I just enjoy really intelligent writing, really, I guess, intense and poetic. I really enjoy, and I really just love true stories. It's all I watch, it's all I read.
Yeah.
I only watch documentaries, I only read memoir or autobiographies.
Yeah. Do you find that when you are reading that you're busy editing through the books that you read in your mind?
If I don't like the book, like I just won't finish reading it.
Right.
Yeah, and I suppose I'm very selective with what I read because I actually am not a really big reader. I think I'm just too tired by the end because I do a lot of reading for work. Because I do a lot of appraisals, I have to read a lot of books and then I write the appraisal report on them. So I guess that's where I do most of my reading. And so relaxation, I don't read a lot. But I'm just very selective. So I know that they're really good writers or I won't read it. And there's a lot of books I haven't finished reading.
Right. we won't mention them. So what do you do besides, not reading maybe, in your spare time?
I love to dance. I've always loved to dance.
The Zumba queen?
I do Zumba, and because of COVID, I've been doing Zumba on Zoom, but finally did my first face-to-face again this morning.
How was that for you?
Brilliant. And I've obviously been slacking off at home. I worked that out.
You felt it today?
I did feel it today. And I love to sing, so I've always sung, and I'm sort of in this weird band that isn't a band that sings every week. So not that I go every week, but we sing a lot of 60s and 70s, and I'm just basically a flower power child, really.
Yeah, right. I can see from you get up. I'll have to take a happy snap and pop it up so people can see. Oh, that's cool. So we talked about Russell Brand and John Safran earlier. Do you have faith, and do you believe in God or the universe? What's your faith?
Yeah, it's a complicated question. I was certainly raised a Catholic. I guess my faith is broader than that because I've worked a lot with migrants and refugees, and now more recently with Auntie Rhonda in particular, being Aboriginal. I understand that there's a spirit out there, and every major religion, suggests that there is one spirit out there, and I believe in that. I believe there's this force around us, and that people who pass away come back to let us know in certain ways. I guess through the dreaming religion from Auntie Rhonda, I've learnt that people have a spirit animal and a totem, and now I find myself assigning people totems, like when they pass away, and I will see that bird fly by and I'll say, oh, there's Dad. Like my dad's a white cockatoo because we had one growing up, a sulphur-crested cockatoo. So I guess I just in that sense, I just feel like that when people die, that they don't go, that they can come back and visit us when we are thinking of them or when we need them. You feel their presence. I guess I don't follow the rituals of religion. And a lot of evil has come through organised religions. There's been a lot of hurt and terror imposed on people. And that's what I've learnt through writing these memoirs, through organised religions. So I guess I've come to be a bit sceptical of organised religions. However, I'd certainly believe there's another force out there. But I don't know, like I haven't even got to the point of defining what I believe, which is strange for someone my age, but there you go.
You're still working on that, mate. There's a lot like you still working on it. She points to herself. It's just a work in progress, I guess.
It's a work in progress.
I think there's a lot of people, or a lot more people leaning towards the one that, you know, everyone's part of the one.
And I just think the tenets of major religions apply. You know, treat people how you'd like to be treated. You know, there's happiness found in giving and in helping people. That's how you find happiness and purpose in your life. I just believe that, and I guess I listen to people who believe that too, like Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Does he though? Does he though? Or is it a contradiction?
Certainly on occasion, some of the stuff he talks about, you think that that's fundamentally where he's at. Yeah, I would agree with that. I listen to people like Jake Ducey and Aaron Doherty, and they're of those kind of beliefs as well. And I want to learn more about that. Do you think there is an afterlife? Do you think you go somewhere?
I wonder whether you go where you want to go. So Arnie Pat King, who I mentioned before, this other Aboriginal elder, she had combined Catholicism with the dreaming religion.
Right.
And she believed in angels, and she believed she was going to Mother Mary, and I really hope she's with her. And I sort of believe she is. You know, she always talked about the angels and everything, and I'd like to believe that's there. I guess coming from a Catholic background, I'd like to believe in angels.
Yeah.
But who knows? I know a lot of people who say there's nothing, there's nothing after you die.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
We'll all find out one day, though,
We'll all
won't we?
find out, but, you know, I'm not hanging my hat on it. I certainly, in times of crisis, I pray. Certainly, that's what I do, so I must believe.
To be grateful for what we have is a very good thing.
And I've always felt so lucky when I look around at other people. And I've always thought, well, why aren't I giving more then? I'm in a position to give more, so I will.
Well, you are, effectively, by helping authors with their books coming to fruition, by helping them write. So you are helping. All right, well, that was very cool. Thank you for that. Now, I want to move on to BANG, Brisbane Author Networking Group, because you're part of BANG, along with myself and Kirsty and Patrice. So what do you bring to the group? You can find it on Facebook, by the way, if you look up BANG, B-A-N-G.
I write the monthly BANG Author Spotlight articles. So BANG is for Brisbane writers, and they can be published or unpublished. And so I interview a member, and currently we have over 200 Brisbane writers in BANG. And so I'm just systematically going through the list of members and asking them if they'd like to be interviewed. And I interview them for an hour over Facebook Messenger video call, and ask them about their writing and their books. And it's really an avenue to promote their work. And then they can share the article with all the photos across their social media or website or wherever they like. And it's really to increase recognition of Brisbane authors, whether they're traditionally published or self-published. And a lot of them are amazing in that they're really doing these things to help society, like the most recent one, Kate Pennington, whose work is children's books, creating awareness around bullying and the effects of teasing people, that children shouldn't be innocent bystanders either. They should step up and stop bullying when they see it, and things like that. So I learn a lot through that, and I learn about the different ways that people market their books and the struggles they have, and what Brisbane writers need. So yeah, I write those articles, and anyone in BANG can message me if they want to be interviewed and feature under the BANG Spotlight. I also do the weekly Follow Me Friday posts, and that's really a way for all BANG members to connect with each other, just put up their link to their Facebook page and then like and follow each other and make those connections with other writers, I guess in the same genre. You know, they might want to collaborate or learn things from one another. And then I just go to the BANG events either organise guest speakers or speak myself or talk to authors and network. Like, it's just really fun to network with other authors and see what might come of it. I think it's not what you know, it's who you know.
It's been pretty tricky recently with good old coronavirus because it's kept us indoors, and we've been doing it via Zoom. And soon, hopefully, particularly here in Queensland, if it doesn't get out of control, we might be meeting up with people.
Yes, so Simone, you and I are organising Bang Banquets.
Yes, we are.
And we're hoping if the first Bang Banquet could happen in September, where, we just have a dinner, and it's basically a networking dinner. So cross fingers, everybody, that Brisbane stays healthy and we can have a Bang Banquet soon.
I've got my fingers crossed tightly. So now, on the back of Bang, you clever girl, opened up the Big Bang Bookshop. So let's hear a little bit about that.
So I just figured that it would be great to have a platform on Facebook selling Brisbane books by Brisbane writers. And so if you're a member of Bang and you put a post up promoting your book with the link of where to buy your book, could be your own website, I'll post your book in the Big Bang bookstore, and then people can buy your book off the shelf. So the books are listed there. We've got over 50 authors listed in the Big Bang bookstore now, across about 10 genres, I think, including audiobooks that Simone has produced. Most of those Simone has produced through Brisbane Audiobook Production. And so it's another avenue for Bang authors to promote their books and hopefully sell their books. And I don't know, in time, I'd like us to be able to have a Bang expo, like a book expo, Brisbane books by Brisbane writers. And this is a good start because we've got them all together at the moment on the Big Bang bookstore. So it'll be easy to just invite them all to be part of it.
That sounds like a great idea. Hurry up and go away, coronavirus.
That's right. We're just waiting on that.
Vaccine.
Minor issue. Yes.
Vaccine.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed our chat today. Before I let you go, have you got any advice for would-be authors?
Just write. Like, it's really hard for people to call themselves a writer and an author. And trust me, I've been there. You're just so shy about it and you think, I'm not good enough. Just write. And importantly, write from the heart. Don't temper what you write because you're worried about what people are going to think. Writing is rewriting. So just write, get it out, and then it can always be edited afterwards. And do go to an editor, do get a professional editor to look at the structure as well as the copy and make it the best you can make it, and listen to their advice. People have been there before, they've published and they know the pitfalls. And I suppose especially if you could join Bang on Facebook, Brisbane Authors Networking Group, then you will meet peers and people that are going through what you're going through. So you're not alone. It's just a great experience to write. If it's in you, there'll be something that just pushes you to write. And my advice is not to hide it in a drawer. Go for it and do it and publish it. It's a great accomplishment. It's an amazing experience to publish your own book and hold it in your hands. And then on top of that, to have a book launch. It's just the most amazing experience. And I just hope people find the courage in themselves to do it. And we're all in this together, yeah?
Yeah.
So, there's people to help. So, don't be intimidated.
Well, the statistics are really low. I've said it before that apparently only 2% of people that begin writing actually end up publishing.
Is that right?
2%.
Yeah.
So hopefully this conversation will inspire more people to actually up that percentage, so we can be good to see it at 50 or 100.
And we just want to raise the standard and the quality of Brisbane books too, written by local writers. So use all those people, use those connections and make it the best it can be.
What's next for you in the next 5 years, say?
In the next 5 years? Gosh, I don't think that far ahead. I just want to keep writing express memoirs. I really love it. I just want to keep my collaboration going with In-House Publishing, who's my self-publisher in Brisbane.
They're brilliant.
Are brilliant.
Great bunch of people.
And we collaborate a lot and they send me a lot of books to appraise and copy edit and structurally edit. And and co-write as well. I get through them.
And they do printing as well. They do.
Yeah, and they're right here. And unlike a lot of other self-publishers, they actually have the printing presses here. So it's just very immediate. The printing process is very immediate and things can be corrected very quickly. I just love it. I love collaborating with you, Simone, too. So I want to do some more, somehow collaborate with you in the audiobook space.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping through Memoir somehow we can do something in the audiobook space with Memoir. And you just want to keep doing what I'm doing and just keep ticking over Express Memoirs because it's so fulfilling and fun.
Yeah.
And
and enlightening. I guess you're hearing all sorts of different stories from all sorts of different people.
I'm learning so much, and they're from all over the world. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear that you love it. So how can people get in contact with you, Jacki?
They can just visit my website at rawmemoirs.com, and there's an inquiry form there. And there's one form for Express Memoirs and another for any other type of co-writing or editing or appraisal service. So there's the two different forms there, and that'll come through my email. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Easy.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure. I love listening to you. All the best for the future, and look forward to seeing more Express Memoirs.
Thank you, Simone. It's been a great chat and a great opportunity. So thanks for offering to have me on.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And my guests from around the world.
Thank you for being a part of this show.
The Simone Filer Podcast. Catch you next time.
It's a wrap.